passion, and that's what makes me feel alive. And man, just being on set for Marvel, like to see the production value, like they're able to do like face pose.
Yeah.
I've never
the little dots that they do sometimes.
I never like. I didn't even know that was a thing. And so yeah, we did that. I tested a couple of concepts for Shang-Chi and Tony Leung himself. But for the most part, that was the main one that I doubled for. And,
well, before taking Death Dealer, you were training Simu and because he didn't have a lot of background in martial arts, and that was really what you brought in for, right?
Yep. So, I mean, I can go back. Let me go back a bit further. So how I got discovered was through Brad Allen. So, how many of you guys in here are Jackie Chan fans? Yes, sir. How many of you guys have seen, and this is a bit of a more low-key movie, so I don't blame you guys haven't seen it. It's called Gorgeous. It's a Jackie Chan film. In the film, he fights this short guy, and this guy is Brad Allen. It's a Jackie Chan stunt team veteran, the first foreigner in the Jackie Chan stunt team. And in my opinion, he's one of the best performers that I've seen from the Jackie Chan stunt team. Years later, as he retired from the Jackie Chan stunt team, he takes Jackie's name with him, and he goes doing his own movies. So he did the action behind Scott Pilgrim, and now we're Shang-Chi. And that's how he found me. He found us through YouTube first. And when he first met up with me, funny story, we got a message on Facebook, and it was Brad Allen, but it didn't have a profile picture. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of sketch. I don't even know if it's Brad Allen, but all right, like, I'll just take my chances. And he's like, okay, I'll be in Anaheim next week. I think he's taking his family to Disneyland. So I'll be in Anaheim next week. Do you have time for lunch? And I'm like, sure. Like, I don't know if this is the real Brad Allen. I'll just take my chances, you know?
This could be someone just on some crazy person.
Yeah, this could be just some crazy person. And so I took my chances, and I met him at downtown Disney for lunch, and like by now he had facial hair, but he was wearing sunglasses, and I can recognize him. And when he took it off, I saw in this area. I'm like, yo, that's freaking Brad Allen. And me being like a crazy Jackie Chan fan growing up, like of course I fanboyed. And like when I sat down with him, he told me like, oh, so I'm working on this film with Marvel, and like I'd like you to be a part of it. And I knew at this point the word of Shang-Chi being made was already out. So I was like, is it Shang-Chi? He's like, yes. Like, and they did the due diligence. They reached out to the Jackie Chan stunt team, Brad Allen stunt team, to do the action for it. And initially, he wanted me just on the stunt team. I've had my foot in the door working in the stunt industry for a while, and I knew really quickly that it wasn't for me. And that's not to downplay anything stunt performers do for us, because stunt performers, they put their lives on the line to make us look good. They're the ones who make the movie, but I knew that I wanted to do more. I told him, like, I want to do more. I want the world to know behind this punch or this kick is Andy Lee's face, which, funny enough, you don't see my face.
Yeah.
But behind this punch or this kick, I want the world to know that's Andy Lee. So I told him that, and he told me, like, okay, well, you know, if ever a role opens up, you know, I respect you, I respect what you do, and I'll keep an eye out for you, you know. But he told me initially, like, if you would want to, like, come help us on this stunt team, and we'll start by just training Simu for a couple months. So me and a couple of my teammates, Brian Lee, my brother, and DY, one of my other teammates, us three, for every morning for like 2-3 months. We were waking up 6 a.m., coming out, training with Simu 4 hours a day, and
now the training wasn't like what Death Dealer was doing with Shang-Chi in the movie, right?
I would say it was even more brutal than that.
what were some of like
what you guys saw on screen was a watered down version of what actually happened in real life.
What were some like the challenges with training?
So I mean, Simu already had, like, as you can see, he's athletically, he's gifted, he has a good build, and he did a bit of tricking, so he was able to do like backflips, do the simple like gainers, B-twists. I don't know any of the moves I'm throwing out there, you guys know what I'm talking about, but he can do basic tricks. He's played around, but where he needed the most work was the martial arts foundation, like how to throw a punch, how to throw a kick. And he would even say this himself, was flexibility. Flexibility was his biggest challenge, and so every morning we would, I think 1 out of the 4 hours was really just stretching. I wanted to put up a video.
4 hours of stretching?
No, 1 hour.
Oh, 1 hour.
1 of the 4 hours was just straight.
Oh, okay.
Because he was really stiff.
Even a 1 hour stretch time is...
Yeah, 1 hour stretch. A minute stretch hits. But he, I have footage, I don't know if I should put it out, but I have footage of us, like, all 3 of us pinning him down and, like, opening up his legs, and one of us sitting on his lower back, and he's like screaming and he's cursing. I don't know if I should put it out, but I really want to. So that was the biggest challenge. And then moving forward, we were getting ready. We shot in Australia, so that was the main shooting location. And we were getting ready to shoot, and I was packing up. And on the day we were going to fly out, like a bigger opportunity came along, which I don't know if I should talk about it. Okay, okay. Well, I did another. Pretty much, I did another film that's more in line with my career choice. And I got to act a bit in it. So, and I told Brad, like, hey, Brad, like, I might have to pull out. Like, this is a bigger opportunity for me. I might have to take this one. He's like, I understand. And no one turns down Brad Allen, you know. On the day I was supposed to fly out, I pulled out. But Brad, you know, he kept an eye out for me, and he really believed in us. And he was like, if ever a role opens up, like, I'm calling you. And so I didn't think much of it, you know, because just working in this industry a lot, you learn not to expect much. You're offered roles, you're made promises, but you never really get it. So I didn't think much of it. I'm like, sure, if anything opens up, let me know. And sure enough, like a couple weeks later, he calls me. He's like, hey, this role for this character, wrote in this character called Death Dealer. He's from the comics, and he's a very ninja-esque character. And your style of martial arts is very ninja-esque. Like, I think this role actually might work for you. And I'm gonna submit you to the casting, and I'll let you know what goes on. I was like, sure, like I'll take it, you know. I didn't think much of it. I'm just okay, yeah, all right. I'll just submit, we'll see what happens. But I wasn't putting my eggs in any basket. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, it was one of those moments. Me and my brothers were with me, Daniel and Brian. We got a phone call from casting, and they're like, oh yeah, we'd like to offer you this role. No audition needed, which is unheard of on a Marvel film. No audition needed, just come play. And like me and my brothers, we had this moment, like, dude, finally 10 years, finally paying off, and we all huddled. Yeah, so that's kind of how the story played out.
Well, then flash forward to you're working with Tony Long, you're working with Michelle Yeoh, and you're getting these incredible moments on set. I see in behind the scenes, it was your birthday during one of the times that you were filming with the big action sequence. And I would love to know, just because I like knowing behind the scenes stuff, what were some of what's the funniest moment that happened on set, and what was one of the most surreal moments that you had on set?
The most surreal moment for me was, it's a really random moment, but there was a moment when I was sitting in a green room with, so a green room is kind of like a waiting room, with Michelle Yeoh, and Tony Leung. So those three are, you know, if anyone follows, you know, Hong Kong action cinema, you guys know that they are the gems of Hong Kong action. And I grew up watching them, and to think that I watched them on screen, and now to think that I'm sharing the screen with them is kind of surreal. And yeah, especially with, and I felt like they all took a liking to me because I was a genuine fan. And you know, we would talk about, I would always pick their brains about how the action scene worked in Hong Kong back in the day, because working right now on a Marvel film and a big budget Hollywood movie is not the same. I think, you know, yeah, back then they would push the actors to do their own stunts, and they would just tell me stories, and I would pick their brains. Yuen Wah, double Bruce Lee. If you guys didn't know, Yuen Wah, he's the guy who trained Aquafina to shoot the arrow. He came up with Jackie Chan and Samwon Yun Biao. They came up together from the same school, and he when he was first starting off in the industry, he doubled Bruce Lee. So you guys, all the flash kicks, all the backflips that Bruce Lee was doing, that was on the wall. He was doing the moves that Bruce Lee couldn't do. And for some reason, I really appreciated that. You know, just being able to sit in a room, just rubbing shoulders with these people I grew up watching the surreal moments. So that was like one of the moments that hit me.
Well, Andy, you are such a generous and amazing person, and you're so talented as well. I want to make sure that people have time to ask some questions to you, so we're going to open it up to everybody. We got a microphone up front, and yeah, please, whatever questions you have, come on up, and we will ask. And while you're doing that, I have something else, Andy. I would like, if you're okay with it, for you to give out some of your action figures.
Sure, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, they are. But they are a twofer because this is your iconic scene, is it not?
Yep.
How long did that take to shoot, by the way?
I taught him how to do this. Oddly enough, it was only 2 days. Only 2 days, which is very little. But I think it's because I'm like, you know, you got all the big actors, you got Michelle Yeoh, and Benedict Wong, and you know, the schedule was to shoot them all first and send them home, and I'm like kind of on the lower end, so they're just like save me for the last. And you know, when at the end it was like you're running out of time, so we're rushing 2 days. There's a story for that. There was my most memorable moment of shooting this fight was this one move that me and my team created. We call it the Future Sidekick. So, like I said earlier, we're big fans of martial arts films, but it's one thing to watch them and copy them, but it's another thing to watch them, learn from them, and elevate it. And so, when we're training together as a group, we're always developing new moves that have never been done on film. So, there's this one move my brothers and I created called the Future Sidekick. Hasn't been done on film, and I was really pushing, to do the choreography, and Brad gave me a shot at it. And so there was this one shot, and when I do it in training or in the rehearsal rooms, it's 10 out of 10. But when you're in costume, especially this costume, with that mask, you can't breathe, and the pressure's on. You're only shooting for 2 days, and you know, you got all the executives watching you, and everyone, Brad Allen is watching you, and Brad Allen having really high standards. Pressure's on, and you don't perform it the same way. And so Brad was giving me, you know, takes to do it, and I was missing them the whole time. And I was like, why? And why am I missing them? And I kept pushing. It was one of those moments where it's like, this moment on film, if I land this kick, this Future Sidekick, this kick has never been done on film before. If I land this kick, I'm making history. This moment counts. So I would push for more takes. Can I get one more? Can I get one more? Can I get one more? And there was, I believe it was like the 14th take or something. It was a lot. And Brad was like, all right, Andy, you really got to move on. This is your last take, but don't mess this one up. And the pressure was on. And I was training to kick him in the chest. But on the final take, lucky enough, I nailed him square in the face. And it worked perfectly. And when I saw the playback on the monitor, I'm like, this is going to be a trailer moment. And if it is a trailer moment, it's during the drop of the music, like the trailer music. And I was 100% right. That's rewatch the trailer. So that was one of those historical moments for me. Hasn't been done on film before, and that's what we need to do as the next generation, is push the envelope.
Absolutely. Give us your name and your question. Yeah.
My name's Heather.
Hi, Heather. Give it up for Heather, everybody.
Today, my birthday. I've seen the film twice, absolutely love it. But you mentioned that growing up, you had a lot of influence. What was the most influential film to you growing up?
For me, my most influential film. Okay, you guys know Bruce Lee, right? He did this film called Fist of Fury, And there's been a lot of remakes since he did it. And that Fist of Fury was done in what year? The 70s? The 70s? So everybody knows that Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury, there's this classic scene where he goes in to the dojo. So that, like the Japanese, they give the school a signboard that says like sick innovation, and he brings the signboard back into the dojo. And then he fights 10 black belts at once. And that for me was one of those moments where it was like, oh snap, like this guy is standing up for the smaller guys. This guy is standing up to the bullies, and he's fighting like 10 guys. And it was one of those empowering moments. But oddly enough, there's been a lot of Fist of Fury remakes since Bruce Lee's. And for mine was my personal favorite Fist of Fury remake. My Fist of Fury was the Donnie Yen 1995 TV series. I'm going back into the archives here. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
That's a deep hole.
Yeah, I'm a crazy fan. But that for me, it was a gem. And so, yeah, 1995, Donnie Yen's Fist of Fury TV series. That for me, so,
Thank you.
thank you. That was a good question.
Hi, my name is Laura.
Well, give it up for Laura, everybody.
So I've been doing Shorin karate for 7 years, but I'm nowhere near your level, obviously. So I want to know about your daily regimen. Like, how long do you train every day? What do you eat? Your sleep? Like, how do you do that on your level?
My training schedule is really crazy. So for me, I usually go 4 to 6 hours a day. 4 to 6 hours a day training every day, and that includes conditioning and martial arts and like taking the time to explore acrobatic movements and leveling up the game. And I would break it into 2 sessions. So like 2 hours in the morning, that would be like conditioning and basics, and then at night would be like the martial arts and all the fun stuff. I think what's a lot of it though is a lot of my training has been trial and error, because I don't know if you guys know this stuff. 90% of what I know is self-taught. My first exposure to martial arts was through Kung Fu films, and we couldn't afford, like my family couldn't afford Kung Fu classes, and I really wanted to do it. So I just watched movies. I watched playback, like on the VHS tape at the time. So me and Brian would just watch. Me and my brothers, we would just watch and just copy the moves. And so a lot of it was that. A lot of it was experimenting, and a lot of trial and error. And that's where I think in martial arts you learn to persevere when things get hard. And I think that's where I learned to. I'm just saying the phrase eat shit a lot. I learned to eat shit a lot, and then just keep going after that. And it doesn't apply just in the training; it applies to life. So when we're doing those grinding out through these YouTube videos, and the view counts don't add up to what you expect or what you would have hoped, you get used to it, and you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and hoping that one day, it'll pay off. And when it pays off, it pays off. So yeah, that's kind of how. I totally digress, but yes, that's how
It's a warrior spirit.
Yeah, that's the warrior spirit.
Thank you so much. If you want to give it to whoever you want to, whatever question you want to give them to whoever.
Yeah, bro, Dimo, what are you thinking? Yeah, you're like this. You're like.
Maybe. Come on.
All right. Yo, Daniel, you want to come up here and answer questions with me? Yeah,
Come on up.
Come up. This guy has been, we've been eating shit together for 10 plus years, and he's actually the respect person, not me. I'm actually the one doing all the fighting, and he's the one usually doing all the talking. So he's you guys would love having him up here. So.
Hi, I'm Will. My question is, I'm just curious what your thoughts on Death Dealer's story throughout Shang-Chi is.
That's the thing. I think because there wasn't he wasn't elaborated on so much. The thing I know for sure is that Death Dealer's character, it brings a couple of things to the table. It brings the mysterious factor and the danger factor, and when he's on screen. But I think people want to know more about what's behind that mask. And since it wasn't elaborated on enough, hopefully, and I think of the fans, if you guys speak and you guys make enough noise, maybe they will bring Death Dealer back for maybe an origin story or something, I don't know, but yeah, let's just keep an eye out and see, because like I said, what you guys have seen on the screen was only the tip of the iceberg.
That's a your origin story. Did you have to come up with the backstory yourself to get into the character? Because I know it's very similar because the fighting moves, but personality-wise, you have to kind of get into a villainous zone. How was that?
Yeah, I think because the thing with Death Dealer's character, like, I usually ask how to prepare for this character, and there was really no prep. I trained you around for opportunities like this, for when it happened already, and it's all physical, Death Dealer's character. So when it's all physical and your martial arts vocabulary is so vast, it's easy to do what the directors want. And I can go deeper into this, but for example, it's like you throw a punch is just a punch, but what is the passion behind that punch? You can throw you can throw a jab, but there's 10 different ways to throw it that's connected to your emotion. You could be enlightened, you could be angry, but the way you throw it'll read. And that's what I think. I've been through so many emotional stages in my training that I've covered all of it. So I'm going deep here, but like when the time comes and I need to throw a punch or a kick a certain way, it was already there.
Actually, can I say something about that?
Sure. Go ahead.
I think
He'll do all the hyping.
no. I mean, he sets you guys up, and I think this is really, really exciting for the future of Marvel, because for us, when we heard about Andy's casting as Death Dealer, that he was going to be a masked villain who doesn't have any lines, his right-hand man, we thought, oh man, we wish he got to be more prominent in the movie. But I actually think the silver lining in that is his action, everything he brought to the screen. It opens up the book for a world of possibilities. It makes you ask the questions. It's like, with that action, who is this person? What effect did he have on Shang-Chi? And I think obviously Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, that's just the beginning of it. Like when they come up with subsequent stories, you're gonna ask yourself, who is Death Dealer? And who's the man behind the mask? And what else we can bring to this Marvel universe? So I'm really excited to see what they do with that. And of course, like Andy said, you guys have the power. We live in a Marvel universe with little green stones that turn back time and alternate timelines. You never know what can happen.
You see why he's our spokesperson?
There's a book of Boba Fett coming out next.
The power is in your hands.
The power is in your hands.
I would love to see a Disney Plus Death Dealer series. That would be incredible. They're doing a Boba Fett, and I just said that you are the Boba Fett for the Phase 4 MCU. People are going to say, yeah, but why not Death Dealer in the next movie? For every movie, like, yeah, but why not Death Dealer put in this?
Yeah, the consensus has been like, dude, like, I wanted to see more of you. It's like, all right, then they just set us up for it.
Hello, I'm Tatiana, and I was
Tatiana, waiting for the other people.
I was wondering, since you were masked during the whole movie, if you got the chance to play another Marvel character, which one would you pick?
That's a good question, and I might get flack for this, but I've openly said this. I'm actually not really a Marvel person. I'm more of a Kung Fu movie person. But Daniel, what do you think would be a good character for me?
I think you should be a Marvel superhero that hasn't been created yet. Because I think you can fit Andy Lee into a role, and he can effectively play that role, or he can tell the much more interesting story of who is Andy Lee, and I think you'll be much more mesmerized by that. That's what I mean. He didn't tell me to say that, I actually think that.
Hi, my name's Lily.
Give it up for Lily, everybody.
And I was wondering where you're hoping the Marvel Universe goes as far as it comes to minority groups and characters.
And you can jump in here, but I think, I believe for me, it's always been martial arts since day one. first and foremost a martial artist. And I think as long as it's not just about putting the ethnicity in the spotlight, it's about the gems that we can bring. It's about the culture, and martial arts is a gem in Asian culture. And I think as long as I'm involved with a project or a film that pushes that envelope, then that would be my goal. I don't know if that answers the question. But
it does. I think my take on that is there's something really, really special going on right now, and that is representation for a lot of peoples who haven't been properly represented up until this point. And Shang-Chi is definitely an achievement for Asians everywhere. I'll say it plainly. But I think it's still a process. Something great is happening, but at the point where we are right now, it's not about taking different colored faces and putting them on established tropes and established sets of values and all of that. It's about taking people's cultures that already exist, that already make our world beautiful, and putting that in the spotlight. So it's not about us trying to plaster an Asian face on a white face or anything like that. It's about taking what's beautiful about Asian culture and letting people see that. And not just Asian faces, but all races. I think we should get to a point where in the Marvel universe, or in any universe, you can see people of color portraying characters without any limits on what they can and can't be.
That's such a great question.
Hello, Andy. I'm Joshua.
What's up, Joshua?
So, since you're already big on this big film, would there be any other movies?
I believe my next projects are passion projects. I believe, and this is normal amongst actors and directors and creators in general, who work on these bigger budget blockbuster films to kind of put your name out there and make the money so you can go do your passion projects. So for us, as Martial Club, as a team, we haven't, yes, we worked on a Marvel film and we have a couple films that we shot that's still out to be released, and you guys haven't seen it yet, but I think our next step is passion projects. We haven't really been able to tell the martial arts story. We haven't been able to tell the world our story yet, and we haven't been able to say what we wanted to say to the world yet. So the next project we're going to do is passion projects.
Okay. Would you do any more Kung Fu movies than Marvel?
I've shot a couple already, and like I said, they've yet to be released. But you already know if it's a martial club, a passion project. If it's a martial club film, of course it's going to be a martial arts movie. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
Who would you actually collaborate with if you're doing a film?
What are you gonna do? Third question here? What are we doing here? No, go ahead. What was it?
What was that question?
Who would you actually collaborate with? If Bruce Lee was alive, or Donnie Yen, or Jackie Chan?
That's a good question. Wouldn't it be cool to have an Avengers of martial arts superstars?
That would be fun.
And a lineup of Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, Bruce Lee.
The question.
Andy Lee.
The answer to your question is yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that was actually my question. I was going to say who's on your bucket list. I'm Dylan. But I'll ask you another question. So you've been in Marvel. A lot of Marvel characters are now crossing over to DC. Who would you like to be in DC?
Daniel, you want to help me with this one?
New DC superhero who hasn't been named yet. Andy Lee, DC superhero.
Awesome. Well, I hope you're in the DC universe next. So.
No, maybe.
Who is a MCU villain that you think Death Dealer could go toe-to-toe against? That is in the MCU or that has been in the MCU so far?
You have a good answer.
Honestly,
because the thing is with Death Dealer's character, it hasn't been elaborated on much yet, and I feel like the possibilities are so. You can do anything with him now, and you can make him. It's not the first time a villain has captivated the audience, and even though he's masked, but I think you could blow him up to any scale you want and put him toe to toe to anyone.
yeah, there's all these villains that you can put him them up against, because there's bigger and bigger. You know, we had Thanos, now we're headed towards Kang and Galactus, and I think basically, for no matter how big the baddie is, the thing that's going to bring them down is the punch you don't see coming. This guy can bring it. That dealer can bring it. He can deal with it.
Awesome. Well, that just about wraps it up for this. I want to thank you guys. Let's give out these toys real quick. If you want to pick up a couple people, just go out and hand it to them, whatever. Let's see how we go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
How about we throw it out? We'll throw one over to this side and one over to this side.
That sounds good.
Just don't. Yeah. How about you twist?
Oh, we're throwing it. And maybe we can, and I can throw it and catch from. Oh no. Whoa! There we go. One more time, give it up for Andy Lee and this panel. It was incredible.
And just look at the eye.
To Marshall Club. Instagram.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.